The middleweight championship of the world, Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya, minus 135 for Adesanya, plus 135 for Pereira, over under 4.5 rounds, plus 110 for the over, minus 110 for the under. Always odds are courtesy of BetOpenly. Person to person, no house, only 1% juice. BetOpenly.com. I can guarantee you no other book is going to have these prices available for you. So this one is tough. I've gone back and forth. I know a lot of people have talked about it and given their take on it. It's crazy to see that Pereira is still the underdog, but I can see why he is still the underdog. But it's still just wild to see that he is. What do you think on this one?
Yeah, man, it's just one of those fights that we've seen him in the octagon together before. We saw him in kickboxing before that, but it's like there's still so many factors that go into trying to break down this fight and get on the right side. I mean, in the first MMA fight between the two, Izzy was winning that fight on the judges' scorecards. He just had to survive the rest of that fifth round, and he gets his hand raised. And, and he performed really well that night, besides getting clipped in that last round and losing by TKO. I mean, Izzy brought his A game for the first half of that fight. And, Pereira, he's just one of those freaks of nature with the strength and the power and even the size. I mean, you go and look at him standing next to guys like Dominic Reyes and even Glover Teixeira, who's a 205er, and he's massive compared to those guys. So it makes you wonder, like, how much longer can he really fight at 185? And it obviously gives him a huge advantage over guys, even like Izzy. I mean, that power is just unreal. Obviously, he's a credentialed kickboxer, one of the best kickboxers, especially we've seen in the UFC. So, yeah, it just comes down to I don't even know if Izzy has to switch up his game plan because he did so well in that first fight. But he's definitely going to have to be a lot more cautious of that left hand and that power, especially as the fight goes on. And I think Izzy knows that you can't coast in this game. And he should have known that better in the first fight because you could tell he was starting to try to coast to that decision victory there. And obviously it didn't work out. But skill for skill, I think Izzy's obviously the faster-handed fighter. He uses his distance really, really well. And even though he gets a lot of decision wins, but Izzy still got power. I mean, he had Pereira hurt after that first round. But as far as raw power and strength go, you got to give it to Pereira. But for me, I just think Izzy has been at this and he's been a champ for so long. He knows what he has to do from here. He knows he was beating Pereira in that first 4 rounds. And, when he did get this fight to the ground in their first fight, he had some success with the control time. And, Pereira, I'm sure, has been working on it and obviously training with Glover Teixeira. But, I mean, Izzy looked like he was a level above Pereira when it went to the ground there. So I'm not going to be surprised if you see some kind of trip during this fight. Izzy staying on top with the control, landing some decent shots, and just stealing rounds. I've got to stick with Izzy here for the pick. It's just so hard to bet against him, even after seeing him get TKO'd, considering what those first 4 rounds looked like. But I don't think it would be, ridiculous to have some kind of Pereira prop on it by KO. But for the money line, for the pick, I think Izzy's the play here.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Izzy has never been an underdog in the UFC as far as the betting lines go. He's been around even before in one fight. This one, he's still the favorite, but a very slight favorite. So, I mean, you're getting a price that you really have never gotten on Israel Adesanya. In the last fight, I was on Alex Pereira, and he came through for me. But that was he was plus 180, plus 190 on BetOpenly. So that changes a lot. Because like you said, Izzy was going to win. He was winning the fight. It kind of goes back to the Usman and Edwards thing. It's like, okay, he was winning the fight. But at the same time, he still lost, and he got not the same kind of knocked out, not, clean cut, just out cold knocked out. But at the same, he still lost to the guy 3 times. There's still some kind of mental blockage that has to go on there for Izzy, having lost to this guy 3 times. He's been knocked out by him twice now. Once was out cold, once in the octagon. That was a TKO stoppage. But there's something that's got to go on there. And Alex is kind of like leaned into it a little bit. It's basically like this guy's just out hunting Israel Adesanya. Like he doesn't care about anybody else. He's just gonna keep hunting Izzy. If Izzy wants to get back in the octagon with him, he's gonna keep going after him, and he's gonna keep beating him. But at the same, I'm like, dude, it's so clear. Like Izzy's the better mixed martial artist, but Alex just might have his number. Like it just might be that fact. It might be that simple that he just has his number. But if Izzy can just stay safe, like we were talking about, so like just stay safe, do exactly what you're doing, mix in some wrestling. In the first round, he had him dead to rights at the bell. And then second round, Pereira wins the second round. He comes out in the third round, he gets a takedown, and he's on his back for most of the round and wins. Like that was the safest round that he won. He had 4 minutes of control time. Do more of that. Like do more of that. I know it's not. It might hurt your ego a little bit to be like, I have to wrestle this guy to beat him, even though we were both kickboxers and that's where we originally met. Might have to wrestle this guy to beat him. But it's so tough to take a guy that has lost to another guy 3 times, and you're like, no, this is the time. Like, if you take Izzy and he loses again, I'm gonna feel really stupid. But I think he's still the better mixed martial artist, and maybe there's some kind of pressure that is lifted off of his shoulders that he's like, I have nothing to lose. If I beat him, then I'm the champion again. If I don't, like, I've already lost to him 3 times. It's not a big deal. Like, did anybody expect anything different? Izzy's he's a competitor though, and I think he's going to come out with a solid game plan. And at that price, like I think I got to take him. I think I got to take Izzy. He is younger than Alex Pereira too, so maybe he's got a little bit more of a future, at least in the middleweight division. Like who knows what Pereira does after this, win or lose? Does he stay at 185? Does he move up to 205? Does he move up to 255? We'll find out. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Izzy for the pick. I don't even know if I'm going to play a side or not. I might play a side for fun or something because I will be going to the event again. But I don't know. Like, it's such the unknowns. It really reminds me a lot of the Edwards-Usman fight. It's like, who can implement their game plan better? If Izzy's going to stand on the feet with him, he has to circle off the cage.
He can't. He can't get caught up against the cage.
He cannot. He was having great success with that in the first round, and even in the fourth round. Like Izzy had a solid fourth round as well. When they were both on the feet, he's just, if Alex would close the distance, he'd just circle out and then put his back up against the center of the octagon, so he has all this space to move out of the way, so Alex can't cut him off with that left hook. He has to do it. He has to do it. And like you said, you can't coast at any time, any point in time. If you're Pereira, you have to close that distance. And honestly, I think you gotta be aggressive the entire fight. Like you can't wait until that 5th round and expect something to happen. Like we just saw a week ago with Cheeto and Corey. Like you can't just wait for that opening. You got to make that opening. So that's all I got on that one. If you want to say anything else.
I don't think that Alex Pereira can beat Izzy by decision. I don't think he can.
Yeah.
I think if it goes all 5 rounds and nobody's getting knocked out, I think Izzy, with the style points and the volume, I think he beats him like 8 or 9, 10 times out of 10. But it's just that left hook and that power you got to watch out for. And Pereira is so accurate with it sometimes that when it lands, man, he's going to put you out. So, yeah, man, that's what makes it so tough, is because we know Izzy should be the better mixed martial artist. And over the duration of 5 rounds, he's going to win most of that, or most of the rounds. But it's just that power, which makes it fun too. So, but yeah, I'm going to stick with Izzy. I think, being such a good champion for that many years and having this much high level experience now, he knows what he needs to fix. He knows what he needs to do. And I think he's going to stick to a really good game plan. But both guys are going to have to be at the top of their game if they want to get their hand raised at 287. So what a main event, though. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. One last thing to go off your point, like Izzy, you can't really beat Izzy by decision. Like you just can't do it. He's so good defensively at getting out of range and getting out of your shots. Like, you just can't hit him enough to win enough rounds in a 5-round fight. Like, even though Pereira outstruck him in the total numbers, like, Izzy still had 3 rounds under his belt. Like, he was going to win that by decision. So it's a tough road, I think, for Alex Pereira. He's got to knock him out. And I think that's what we both conclude.